Broadcasting live from the mountains of Montana, get ready for an hour of pure, unapologetic conservative talk radio. Liberals beware, because this is the Wise Conservative Show.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Conservative Show. I'm your host, Connor Wise. I hope you guys all had a great Halloween, but sadly there is actually some bad news. If you didn't hear, I'm sure you have. There was another terrorist attack, this time in New York City, and it's kind of similar to a lot of the attacks that we've seen recently, and those are the ones where cars drive into crowds of people. It seems like that's a new type of warfare, a new type of jihad that has been very prominent and has actually killed a lot of people. Prosecutors are saying that Sayfullo Saipov was the man who did this, and that he was, quote, consumed by hate and a twisted ideology when he ran down dozens of people on a New York City bike path, killing 8 people and injuring 12 others. He was charged with providing material support to a terrorist group and committing violence and destruction of motor vehicles in Tuesday's attack, in which he drove a rented Home Depot truck down the path near the World Trade Center site. Law enforcement officials described the initial charges as holding charges, meaning that more are expected to be filed. Now, Saipov nodded his head repeatedly as he was read his rights in a brief court proceeding that he followed through a Russian interpreter. Judge Barbara Moses set his court date for November 15th, so pretty soon. But his court-appointed lawyer said that he was, quote, in a significant amount of pain, and asked that he could get wound care and a wheelchair or crutches in the federal lockup where he's being held without bail. Outside of court, his lawyer called for a fair treatment of his client, saying, quote, I hope giving all the attention of this case and all of the attention that's it's sure to continue to receive, that everyone lets the judicial process play out. I promise you that how we treat Mr. Saipov in this judicial process will say a lot more about us than it will say about him. Prosecutors said that Saipov had 90 videos and 3,800 photos on one of his 2 cell phones, and many of those were ISIS-related pieces of propaganda. Now, these included images of prisoners being beheaded, shot, or even run over by tanks. Saipov left behind knives and a note in Arabic and English that included Islamic religious references and said, quote, Islamic supplication, it will endure. FBI agent Amber Tyree said in court papers, quote, it will endure commonly refers to ISIS. Now, Saipov was questioned in his hospital bed, and he said that he had been inspired by ISIS videos that he watched on his cell phone and began plotting an attack about a year ago, deciding to use a truck about 2 months ago. So, this is the same type of attack that we've seen multiple times in Nice, France, and other places in Belgium. There's been a lot of attacks with cars. But, I mean, we haven't really seen too many of those attacks with cars in America yet. So this does kind of impact a lot. It's really kind of sad that in 1 month span we had 2 attacks like this. Las Vegas and now this. Literally in the same month, on the 1st and then the 31st of the month. But we've been seeing time after time people being radicalized by this ISIS propaganda, Islamic State, all these different photos and videos that they put out there, these lone wolf attacks, and there's so little we can do about it. There's so little we can do here at home about it. But this does remind us that there's other things we can do to protect ourselves. Of course, we can bring the fight even stronger towards ISIS. It's something that is necessary. It's something that we need to do more full-heartedly. Because until we take out ISIS, until we take out these terrorists, these attacks are going to continue to hit us. They're going to continue to hit England. They're going to continue to hit France, Belgium, all of our allies. ISIS is in over 32 countries in the world. It could be more than that now. They are a huge enemy. They are not the JV team, as previous President Obama said. What's sad is the fight against ISIS, wanting to actually wage war against this terrorist organization, has been made a political issue. It shouldn't be political to want to kill terrorists. That shouldn't be a thing that conservatives like but liberals dislike. Wanting to get revenge and justice for the victims of these terrorist attacks should not be an issue that anyone disagrees with. I see no reason why you wouldn't want to take the fight to these people instead of allowing them to have more and more attacks on our homeland. Instead, letting them to plan these plots, to plan for an entire year a plot to run down innocent people, or a plot to attack a nightclub in Florida, or to attack a music venue. They have these huge plots that are just going to continue to happen because we have half of a nation that isn't willing to attack terrorists, that isn't willing to get justice for these innocent victims of these attacks. 8 more people have died because of that. And if we continue to sit idly by, yeah, we have a few troops over there. We do have some people that are fighting ISIS. But we're mostly supporting other people fighting ISIS at this point. We're training Iraqi soldiers. We're giving weapons to rebels within Syria. Supporting Kurdistan. But we're not taking the fight too much ourselves. We need to step up our game here. We have the largest military in the world, and we need to use it. We have the strongest military in the world, and we need to use it. These attacks have gotten out of hand. We've seen them increase year after year, and we've just seen the amount of death go up and up because we haven't been willing, or half of our nation hasn't been willing to actually do anything. Because they say that when we want to do this, that we're attacking all Muslims, so it's wrong. They say when we try and put in protective policies, such as a temporary travel ban, to try and keep these terrorists out of our nation, that we're attacking an entire group of people, that we're attacking all Muslims. They say all these things and turn it political. They turn it into this issue where we can't get any done, where we can't actually protect our nation. This should not be a political issue, folks. Half of our nation should not be disagreeing with this. It's disrespectful to the victims of these attacks. Because they're saying that we shouldn't do anything to prevent this in the future. They're going to, just as always, blame this on issues within America, within our government, that are just conservative policies. Even though that had nothing to do with these. They're not going to ever blame it on radical Islamic terror. I have never to this day heard a Democrat in leadership call ISIS a radical Islamic terror group. I've never heard them say that radical Islamic jihad is our enemy, that we're waging war against them, that we should wage war against them. Because they think that we need to protect those people, that we need to leave them alone, that we can't allow ourselves to attack them. But we should just be attacked. Folks, that doesn't work. That doesn't protect our nation. That doesn't keep our citizens alive. It doesn't keep our allies safe. All it does is put us in more danger. All it does is put our allies in more danger. To put the Middle East in more danger. Because the longer that we just kind of sit here and barely attempt anything, the longer ISIS is going to grow, the stronger they're going to get, the more influence they're going to have, and the harder it will be to actually get rid of them. We should have acted all the way back in the beginning when President Obama called them a JV team. That's when we should have acted, back when they were still small. Now they're so large that they have their own economy. They control oil exports. ISIS is creating its own nation, and we're doing nothing. They have fighters in 32 nations, and we're doing nothing. Every time we try and do anything, we're deemed as racist, as Islamophobes, by the left. But all we're trying to do is protect our nation and protect our citizens. Now, we know that the left doesn't want to attack ISIS whatsoever. We know that they don't think that it's right and that it's Islamophobic because it's generalizing things to all Muslims somehow. Well, we also know that CNN anchor Jake Tapper also believes that. He actually said the Islamic phrase Allahu Akbar just minutes after that terrorist attack in New York City yesterday. Of course, Saipov reportedly yelled that after crashing the truck before an NYPD officer was able to actually shoot him. Tapper said, quote, "The Arabic chant Allahu Akbar, God is great, sometimes is said under the most beautiful of circumstances, and too often we hear it being said in moments like this." He's trying to defend the actions of this person, essentially, saying that saying this phrase isn't ever linked to terrorism, that we just see the small minority of it. But really the only time I hear this being said is during terrorist attacks. Furthermore, I don't see Christians as running down the street yelling, "God is great," and then shooting people. It doesn't happen, folks. But Jake Tapper has been pretty crazy in his liberal ideas for a very long time, and he's not afraid to tell them, which is not what you want from a journalist, but sure, we'll let him continue. Jafin Chavez was on the 5. He said that the overwhelmingly majority of Muslims don't commit acts of terror, which is true, but it is important to acknowledge that there is an element of radical jihadists in the Islamic faith. Quote, "And we have to be honest about who they are and what they're doing." You see, that's the key part right there. It is important to acknowledge that there is an element of radical jihadists in the Islamic faith. We have to be honest about who they are and what they're doing. That's the part that people need to listen to. That's the part that people need to realize. When we condemn these acts of terror and blame it on radical Islam, we are not blaming the entire faith of Islam. What we are doing is blaming these radicals, these terrorists, these people who are killing because they say that the religion tells them to. We're not condemning every single Muslim in the world. We're condemning radicals, these radical jihadists. I don't know why or when this happened, but for some reason on the left it is taboo to say radical Islamic jihad. It is taboo to say that these are radical Islamic terrorists. I don't know why. I don't know what got into their minds that made them think that. I don't know why they call it Islamophobia when we condemn terrorists. I don't know when that started or why it started, but it is here, and for some reason they continue to do it, they continue to follow that, when it doesn't make any sense. What does make sense is condemning terror. What does make sense is condemning this radical ideology. It makes sense to condemn terrorists, but they can't do that for some reason. For some reason, they just can't say those words because it's not politically correct in their mind, because it alienates a whole base in their mind. But it doesn't alienate anyone who isn't a terrorist or a radical Islamist. And furthermore, many times political correctness is the reason why these attacks even happen, because people are too afraid to say anything. People are too afraid to say anything, so these attacks actually do happen. When they see someone suspicious, they don't say anything because they don't want to be called an Islamophobe or a racist or a bigot. These notions that the left has brought up and continually praised and used are dangerous. And they have led to many more attacks happening because they're afraid. They're afraid to do anything. And they think that this is them taking the high road. They think that them staying out of this is taking the high road, but what it really is them being stupid and not listening to facts. Folks, the name of ISIS is literally the Islamic State. They are radical Muslims, radical Islamic jihadists. The left needs to start looking at the actual name of this terrorist group. They need to start looking at the facts. They need to start looking at what these people are saying and what they're doing and how can we stop it. That's what they need to look at. Not how can we blame this on guns or how can we blame this on conservatives or our president. They need to start looking at actual solutions. Look at the truth. Look at the facts. Look at the fact that we are facing a threat from Islamic terror. Because what they're doing right now is more dangerous than it is helpful. Right, I'm going to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. This is Wise Conservative Show. Hey everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive sneak peek of the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. With universal health care, which is essentially the next step beyond Obamacare, this is where Democrats want to take the country. This is where the left wants us to go. With universal health care, now there's no insurance companies, no one competing whatsoever, and the government controls it all.
Calling all young conservatives. Have you ever wanted to write for an online publication? What about host your own conservative radio program? Now you can, thanks to YouthRevolt.org. Youth Revolt is a conservative media network for young people, the goal of which is to educate our fellow Americans, and also to expose the left-wing indoctrination that goes on in classrooms across the country. Become part of a team that is dedicated to taking the country back, one radio program or opinion column at a time. If you're interested, go to YouthRevolt.org and click on Join Us on the top of the page. Fill out our brief questionnaire, and one of our representatives will be in touch with you in no time at all. The time to reclaim our future is now. Be a part of something that's bigger than yourself, and join the movement today. Youth Revolt. Speak without fear. My friends, I'm going to be blunt with you. There are a lot of frauds out there today. People who claim to be conservatives and yet, in one way or another, believe that more government is the solution to our problems. That's not what conservatism is about, and even more than that, that's not what our Constitution is about. I'm Jason Veely, a recent college grad who has the guts to say what needs to be said without pulling any punches. On my radio show, you can expect 100% pure conservatism every single weeknight at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Join me as we discuss history, liberty, and conservative philosophy in a style that is just as entertaining as it is educational. Who says we can't have fun tearing down the liberal establishment? Tune in to the Jason Veely program live every weeknight at 7 o'clock on YouthRevolt.org. I'll see you out on the battlefield.
America is known for its expansive wilderness for all to explore, and for many, that exploration is an important hobby. This exploration is why The Survivalist was created. On this blog, you will find expansive information on all things wilderness, from what knife you should carry to what backpack gives you the best bang for your buck. This group of 4 writers has created a very diversified and useful site, which I personally recommend. This site has given me much knowledge on a variety of topics, and I urge you to check it out at the-survivalist.weebly.com. Once again, that is the-survivalist.weebly.com.
I was assuming that it meant coverage, but if he says that there's a small group of people who understood what it was, so I'm like, what is it? What is Confetti?
It gets 2 scoops. You know, everyone around the table gets 1, and no word if there were sprinkles.
He paid $38 million, looks like $38 million in taxes.
Are you tired of listening to the snowflake liberal media report about ice cream scoops and typos instead of real facts? Well, at the Wise Conservative Show, we promise you that we will not report about Kofifi, but instead about the truth, instead about the facts about what's going on in our nation. Join us every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Wise Conservative Show for your dose of unapologetic conservative talk radio. The Wise Conservative Show, only on Youth Revolt. Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. Once again, I am your host, Connor Wise. Now, we all know that that liberals take every chance they can, and the majority of the politicians, Chuck Schumer, Hillary Clinton, Dianne Feinstein, all of these politicians take every opportunity they can to politicize anything. Well, in a change of fate, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is hitting President Trump for politicizing the terror attack in New York City. But if we look at past things, we can see that it was Schumer who was the one politicizing everything. Schumer said today in a statement, quote, "President Trump, instead of politicizing and dividing America, which he always seems to do at times of national tragedy, should be focusing on the real solution, anti-terrorism funding, which he proposed cutting in his most recent budget." Responding to Tuesday's attack, that we were just talking about, the president said he ordered the Department of Homeland Security to step up his extreme vetting program for new immigrants entering the United States. He also blasted the diversity visa lottery program, which suspect Saipov used to enter the country in 2010, referring to it as, quote, "a Chuck Schumer beauty." President Trump tweeted, quote, "I want merit-based," in response to the, quote, Democrat lottery systems for deciding who admit to the country. Now, Schumer then sarcastically responded to the president by saying, quote, "I guess it's not too soon to politicize a tragedy." Of course, that was in reference to how after last month's mass shooting in Las Vegas, Democrats were criticized by conservatives after calling on lawmakers to pass gun control. At the time, Schumer said, "What Congress can do, what Congress must do, is pass laws that keep our citizens safe. And that starts with laws that help prevent guns, especially the most dangerous guns, from falling into the wrong hands." Now, of course, we've seen time after time, such as when Hillary Clinton immediately said that we shouldn't politicize the Las Vegas attack, but then went directly into attacking the NRA. After the Pulse shooting, Democrat after Democrat said that guns were at fault, that we have to have more gun control. See, the difference here is President Trump, when he was saying this, as the President of the United States, the head of all policy making, the head of driving policy making, he was even talking about a policy that he's been talking about for months, a policy that shouldn't be political. It shouldn't be political to want to vet the people who are trying to enter our nation. That shouldn't be a political issue. The difference is, when the Democrats are doing it, they're attacking all gun owners. When the Democrats are doing it, they're saying that every single innocent citizen that owns a gun is at fault. That the NRA is at fault. And when President Trump talks about this, he's not talking about something that should be political. He's not talking about our Second Amendment rights. He's talking about protecting our nation. And then Chuck Schumer says that he's not protecting our nation, that he's not funding anti-terrorism measures, when it's the Democrats who continually fight to get rid of our measures that protect against terrorists. It's the Democrats who don't want the temporary travel ban. It's the Democrats who don't want more extreme vetting. It's the Democrats who say that we should let anyone into our nation, that we should have open borders, that we shouldn't protect our nation whatsoever. Furthermore, Chuck Schumer has no ground to attack anyone at all for, quote, politicizing an event. Now, I didn't have time to do this before the show, but I wish I could look at every single attack within the last year and look at Chuck Schumer's responses the day of and the day after. I guarantee that 99% of those attacks, Chuck Schumer said something political. That Chuck Schumer tweeted or made a statement about gun control, about our laws in this nation, about immigration, something. Because that's what happens. That's what Democrats do. They politicize these events time after time, and then they become hypocritical and attack our president for politicizing an event, even though he wasn't talking about anything that should really be political whatsoever. Folks, Democrats, these politicians, they want a double standard here. They want a double standard where they can say whatever they want, where they can get away with whatever they want, but we can't, where Republicans can't say anything, where Republicans are the ones who are being shot down whenever they say anything. But they want to be able to politicize anything whatsoever. And they found a way to do that. They found a way to politicize every single issue in our nation. They've just contributed to the horrible polarization of our nation. The polarization between the right and the left, which is getting larger and larger because they continually politicize every single issue and continually attack the right on issues that don't even need to be attacked. They continually do this, folks. And then they say that we're the ones who need to stop. They say that we're the ones who politicize everything, that we're the ones who are outrageous when it comes to this. Folks, they are being hypocritical, and they were revealing their true selves in this. That they don't actually care about what should be happening, that they don't actually care about the victims of these events, but they care about politics instead. They care about their power, they care about their influence. That's not how it should be, but that's how it is. That's how these leadership Democrats are. It's how they always have been. It's how they're going to continue to be, because that gets them elected for some reason. For some reason, Democrats in this nation love it when their leadership Democrats politicize terrorist attacks, when their leadership Democrats politicize anything in the world. When they attack conservatives for anything and everything. That's not how it should be, folks. But that's how it is. And, well, talking about CNN again, on the same topic, CNN White House correspondent Jim Acosta said today that President Donald Trump, quote, now has the world record for injecting politics into the aftermath of a terror attack. Now, that's, of course, after Trump did promise to end that program, the lottery program that allowed Saifullah Saipov to enter the U.S., Acosta made the comment in response to CNN newsroom host Brooke Baldwin, who noted that Trump was, quote, pushing Congress for several major changes in the aftermath of Tuesday's attack. The correspondent repeated that Trump was, quote, playing politics with his call to end the State Department's diversity immigrant visa program, for as the president blamed Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, which we just talked about, and congressional Democrats. Acosta's claim about Trump drew criticism on Twitter, with some noting calls for political action by Democrats in response to tragedies such as last month's Las Vegas massacre. So this is basically the same thing that was happening, except this time it's a journalist that was doing it. Someone who's supposed to be unbiased. But let's read what Hillary Clinton said. I briefly touched it just a few seconds ago, but let's actually read what Hillary Clinton said in her about 5-tweet rant. Here's one of the tweets after the Las Vegas attack. Our grief isn't enough. We can and must put politics aside, stand up to the NRA, and work together to stop this from happening again. She has mastered the art of saying that we should do one thing and then doing the opposite in the same sentence. We must put politics aside, stand up to the NRA. She can't really decide which one to do, so she does both of them. And of course, Jim Acosta is no unbiased reporter. He's repeatedly clashed with the Trump administration. On Monday, he talked over the White House press secretary, Sarah Sanders, about the case of a former Trump campaign aide who pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI on Russian contacts. Acosta said, quote, how is it not collusion when the aide is in contact with various people who are promising dirt on Hillary Clinton, a series of events that closely mirrors what occurred with the president's own son? That's what he asked, referring to the June 2016 meeting at Trump Tower involving Donald Trump Jr. and a Russian lawyer. Sanders replied, finish your monologue, before adding that the aide was not paid by the campaign. He was a volunteer. Now, for the last few weeks, I'm not sure about last week, but I know for most of the weeks in the past couple months, I have talked to you guys about something that Acosta said. And that's because he is the most biased journalist there is. Folks, journalism is supposed to be something that's unbiased. Journalism is supposed to be something where there's no opinion, where you're not delivering your viewpoint, but you're delivering facts and facts only. Where you're not supposed to attack the administration for political issues. But Jim Acosta has taken it to a new level. He has taken it to the level where no matter what happens, he's always making something political. But then he attacks us for making things political. He's just as bad, if not worse, than Chuck Schumer when it comes to this, or Hillary Clinton. Because he's doing it every single week. He's doing it day after day, on CNN, off CNN, everywhere. He's tweeting, he's reporting, everything. Folks, he doesn't even try to hide the fact that he's biased against our administration. How has our media gotten to that point where that's acceptable and that's actually praised by people? People are praising him for saying all these things at White House press briefings. People are praising him for this, for politicizing events, for asking politically charged questions, when he's just supposed to be getting the facts. He's supposed to be getting the facts and reporting the facts to you guys, reporting the facts to us. But that's not what he's doing, folks. And then, when he does get the facts, such as the fact that this aide was actually a volunteer, and that was reported by, no news channels. It was said time after time, but CNN and MSNBC refused to actually report on that. They just decided to leave it out. They actually said that he was a main advisor of President Trump in one of the notifications. So they're not even trying to be truthful. They're not trying to be factitious. All they're trying to do is push their agenda, and I had an entire episode last week on this issue within the media, so I'm not going to go too much farther into it. It's just frustrating, the fact that we can't even get our journalists to be unbiased and to stop attacking someone for something that they didn't do wrong. They say that President Trump shouldn't be able to do anything. They attack him for anything that he does. It's not how the news is supposed to work. It's not how journalism is supposed to work. Journalism has lost all credit because of these people. Because they can't get over petty differences, because they can't just say the facts. All right, folks, I'm going to take one more quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. This is the Wise Conservative Show. Hey, everybody. Connor Wise here with an exclusive sneak peek of the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. What it means to be a conservative is very simple. It means that you want to protect freedoms and liberties. You want to protect the Constitution and limit the government. It's a very simple definition. It's a very simple cause to follow. And this is what a lot of people do kind of value conservatism as.
Ever wanted to learn the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in less than 10 minutes? Are you looking for the truth about the so-called gender wage gap? Well, my friends, I'll let you in on a little secret. Prager University is a source that I use all the time when preparing for my show, the Jason Veely Program. Dennis Prager and his team have put together a remarkable organization that seeks to explain and spread Americanism through the power of the internet. Their short yet extremely informative videos reach more than 100 million people per year, and they want to reach you as well. Go on YouTube and type in Prager University, or go to prageru.com for all of their latest content. That's Prager, the letter U.com. prageru.com.
Hey everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive sneak peek of the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. With universal health care, which is essentially the next step beyond Obamacare, this is where Democrats want to take the country. This is where the left wants us to go. With universal health care, now there's no insurance companies, no one competing whatsoever, and the government controls it all. Have you ever wanted to stand up to your liberal professor? Have you ever wanted to help expand the conservative movement? Well, it sounds like you would be a perfect fit for Youth Revolt. Youth Revolt is a team of dedicated young conservatives fighting liberal indoctrination within our school system. If you're interested in being a part of this team by being a columnist or even hosting your own radio show, go ahead and click the Join Now tab at the top of youthrevolt.org. You'll be asked to answer a few questions, and a Youth Revolt team member will respond to you quickly. Be a part of something bigger than you. Be a part of Youth Revolt. Speak without fear.
If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
Get out of here, you idiot. Sorry about that, folks. Jason Veely here, host of the Jason Veely Program. I'm a 22-year-old conservative who is fired up and ticked off at the direction the progressive left have taken this country. Join me every weeknight at 7 o'clock as we promote liberty, advance conservative principle, and work to restore the Constitution of the United States. I can get loud and I can get passionate. How can we afford not to when so much is on the line? Tune in to the Jason Veely Program, live every weeknight at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on youthrevolt.org. I'll see you out on the battlefield.
I was assuming that it meant coverage, but if he says that there's a small group of people who understood what it was, so I'm like, what is it? What is confetti?
It gets 2 scoops. You know, everyone around the table gets 1, and no word if there were sprinkles.
He paid $38 million, looks like $38 million in taxes.
Are you tired of listening to the snowflake liberal media report about ice cream scoops and typos instead of real facts? Well, at the Wise Conservative Show, we promise you that we will not report about Kofifi, but instead about the truth. Instead, about the facts about what's going on in our nation. Join us every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Wise Conservative Show for your dose of unapologetic conservative talk radio. The Wise Conservative Show, only on Youth Revolt. Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. Once again, I'm your host, Connor Wise. I'm taking a break from talking about the terrorist attack that happened, because I know you guys have probably heard a lot about it on the news as well, and it has kind of taken up 2 segments of the show already. I saw this article, and sadly it didn't surprise me that it was being said. But I saw this article that's saying that a message is coming out from a Democratic National Committee data services manager, and he's currently on the hunt to fill multiple vacancies in the tech department. Now, the DNC, which routinely makes grand statements about inclusion, recently sent an email to its employees looking to recruit people for 8 open spots, including IT systems administrator, product manager, and chief security officer. But this email, it was a little fishy. It said that the DNC is looking for a, quote, staff of diverse voices and life experiences. Now, it apparently doesn't mean white men are allowed to actually apply. DNC's data service manager, Madeline Leader, wrote in an email that the desire for diversity excludes, quote, cisgender straight white males. Leader adds, quote, I personally would prefer that you not forward to cisgender straight white males, as they are already in the majority. Now, if you don't know, cisgender is a term for people whose gender identity matches the sex that they were assigned to at birth. So, it's already really strange here. And what spokesman Michael Tyler said, quote, the email in question was not authorized by the DNC, nor was it authorized by senior leadership. All hiring decisions at the DNC are made consistent with the DNC's commitment to equal employment opportunity and hiring an inclusive and talented staff that reflects the coalition of the Democratic Party. Because of our diversity, it is our greatest strength. Now, this isn't the first time that we've seen something as racist and sexist, blatantly racist and sexist as excluding straight white males out of the DNC. Last year, of course, we saw the Podesta email leak revealed a lot about the inner workings of the DNC. We heard them talking about Hispanic voters, saying many racial slurs, including calling them Taco Bowl voters. They said many racial slurs that I'm not going to repeat about African Americans. And it just went on with all of these different slurs that they said and all these different names that they called and all these people that they called out and that they excluded and that they singled out to try to target. Folks, the DNC and the Democratic Party in general, they try to claim that they are the party of equality, of equality among races and sexes. But when we look at reality, we can see that they are actually the ones being racist here. They are the ones who are excluding people based on their sex. They're the ones excluding people based on their race. They're the ones who are singling people out based on these qualities. There are no leaks about the RNC or Republicans emailing each other and using racial slurs like that to describe their own voters. But there are tons of emails about that out of the DNC. A ton of emails out of these leaks that prove that the DNC had many racist techniques to gaining votes. So it doesn't surprise me when I see that they don't want straight white males in their ranks here, that they don't want straight white males to be working for them. Folks, there's a lot of attacks on straight white males within our nation. They claim that we have privilege. They claim that we get everything because we were born straight and white. That life is easier for us because of it. That we've never had hardships because of it. But that's just the biggest lie that they've ever said. We don't go to the store and get a white privilege discount. We don't get into college easier because of our race. In fact, it's the opposite. We don't get life easier. We don't get the job easier because of our race or because of our gender. Folks, that's all just lies. And it's all stuff that isn't true. It's all stuff that they continually say, that they continue to claim, that they continue to yell out at everyone. But they know for a fact that it's not true. They know for a fact that they're the ones actually putting in racist policies. But it gets them the votes. It gets people saying that it's true. It gets people thinking that it's true, who just blindly follow it, blindly say that it's true. But if you actually look at the facts, you actually look at what's going on in our world, instead of just hiding in your little snowflake corner watching CNN all day, you'll realize that it's not true. That constantly, if you're a white male, you are condemned by the left. If you're a straight white male, you are berated by the left. That if you're a straight white male, you're constantly attacked day in and day out for something that you're not even responsible for. It's not your fault that you were born straight and white. But they want to punish you for it. They want to punish you for being straight and white. They want to punish you for being a male. Folks, judging anyone based on race is racist. Judging anyone based on sex is sexist, if it's for ill desires for either of these. They are using these as a way to separate people into groups. They're using race as a way to separate people. They're using sex as a way to separate people. They're using your preferences in life as a way to separate people. The DNC is the most racist group there is, the most sexist group there is. Because they get away with it and they're praised for it. They're praised for putting these policies into place and for allowing people to believe this. They're praised for continually saying that we have all this privilege. Folks, my life hasn't been made any easier because of white privilege. Because it doesn't exist. But they're going to continually say that it does. They're going to continually berate us because of it. And they're going to continually say that we're in the wrong no matter what because of it. Because they think that we get everything in life and that they're not the racist ones. Folks, let's look at history here. Let's look at history for a bit at the party that has always been racist. And I've talked about this before. But it's something that a lot of people don't know. It's something that a lot of people ignore. The party that has constantly been racist is the Democrat Party. The party that has been the party of the KKK, the party of Jim Crow laws, the party of all of this has been the Democrats. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican for a reason. Abraham Lincoln was the founder of the Republicans. He was the head of the Republicans for so long. And yet we're regarded as the racists. Folks, you can look through any policy anywhere within present day that Republicans have passed that divides people up based on race or gender. You can look into that, and I guarantee you won't find anything. But you can look into bills and laws that the Democrats have passed, and you will see a ton of them. You will see countless numbers of these pieces of legislation that they pass, or these executive orders that they write, these memorandums that they get through. But they're going to continue to call Republicans the racists, going to continue to say that we're the ones that need to change, that we're the ones that are in the wrong here. Sadly, they'll get away with that, and sadly, no one's going to call them out for it in the mainstream media. No one's going to say that they're the ones who are truly in the wrong. All right, that's all for today's episode of The Wise Conservative Show. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Connor Wise. You can find me on youthrevolt.org or search Youth Revolt up on Facebook. You can find my show on Spreaker.com/The Wise Conservative Show and on iTunes. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in once again. And as always, God bless.